Pipelining is a technique to speed up execution by making efficient use of processor hardware. The standard analogy for explaining how pipelining works is doing the laundry. First, you gather up your dirty pile of clothes, and then you put these in the washer. And while the washer is running, you can go and gather up more dirty clothes for the next load. So these are happening at the same time. Once the washer finishes, you'll transfer this over to the dryer. And of course, this second load can now go in the washer. And you can go and find more dirty clothes. And let's say that there's one more stage to this pipeline, and that will be folding the laundry once it comes out of the dryer. So it's a stack of folded laundry. Now, once that clothes comes out of the dryer, this load can go from the washer into the dryer. And this load can go into the washer. Now, let's say that I have even more dirty laundry to handle. In theory, that could be loaded up here, but that assumes that I'm somehow capable of folding laundry while also going around my house looking for dirty laundry. That's really not possible. So let's just say that I get my son to help me or something like that. So I'm folding, he gets some dirty laundry, and then it's possible to expand this pipeline out some more, and that would look like this. So this is a little tight, but you can see that we have a complete four-stage pipeline where we have gather dirty laundry, put it in the washer, put it in the dryer, and then fold it. And this is, tightly packed and efficient. But let's assume that my son will not help me gather up this laundry. Well, then I would have to do it, but then I couldn't do these two things at the same time. And so that would actually push all of this over like so. So this delay here is known as a stall in the pipeline. And the specific cause of that stall would be a resource hazard if we're assuming that humans are resources. And so there's only one of me, and I can't do two things at once. And so, since the tasks of folding the laundry and gathering dirty laundry are competing for the same resource, me, we have a resource hazard which causes this stall, this delay. So, this would like to happen here, but it has to wait. And it doesn't just move over one step, it has to wait until that laundry folding is done, and that laundry folding is done, and that laundry folding is done. And then it starts there and then continues forward. So hopefully this analogy makes sense, but let's tie it to an example pipeline for a simple processor. First, note that different processors vary widely in terms of the number and nature of their pipeline stages, but here is a hypothetical 5-stage pipeline for the sake of demonstration. So the stages of our pipeline are fetch instruction, decode instruction, fetch operand, execute instruction, and then write operand. So for every single machine instruction our processor executes, we must go through all of these stages. And so these stages are like, gathering the laundry, putting it in the wash, putting it in the dryer, and so on. So these things have to happen in order for each instruction. But different instructions can execute partially in parallel because different hardware is used for each of those stages. So when one instruction is being fetched, another can be decoded and another can be fetching its operands because separate hardware is used in each of these pipeline stages. So if the system is running at peak efficiency, then the pipelining diagram would look like this. And we can see that we have all of these instructions happening here, and everything is tightly packed, running in sequence. we have fetch, decode, fetch operand, execute, write operands, and then the next instruction, the next, and so on. And when it is at full capacity, we see that this pipeline is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages wide. And that's the best we can ever get because there's 5 steps in the pipeline. That's 5 separate pieces of hardware. And when this one is finishing, this next instruction is starting. And so there's always parts of 5 different instructions in the pipeline, at least in the middle section. There's like a little bit of a startup period, and then there's a little bit of a wind down period there where we have fewer than that. Of course, program execution isn't always this smooth, and in the next video, we'll see some examples of how this process can go awry.